Kamala Harris concedes the presidential election to Donald Trump while urging supporters to keep fighting for their vision of the country. President Xi Jinping congratulates Trump on his presidential win. And a rising trend in the abuse of the so-called space oil by young people. Good evening, and thank you for joining us. Defeated Democratic candidate Kamala Harris has addressed her supporters in Washington, D.C. after losing the presidential election to Donald Trump. The latest NBC News count has Harris on 226 electoral votes, compared with Trump's 291, needing 270 to win the election. Nevada, Arizona, and Alaska results have yet to be confirmed. Harris said she has congratulated Trump but vowed to continue to fight on issues such as abortion rights. Nasvi Karim with more.
A pro-Trump pickup truck drives conspicuously past the Naval Observatory residence of Vice President Kamala Harris in Washington, D.C. Sometime later, Harris's motorcade leaves the compound, the defeated Democratic presidential candidate on her way to Howard University to deliver her concession speech. Her final walk to the podium of a campaign that was thrust upon her in July after President Joe Biden stepped aside. The size of her defeat by Trump chastening, but a promise for America, she says, still burns bright and merely delayed.
The outcome of this election is not what we wanted, not what we fought for, not what we voted for, but hear me when I say, the light of America's promise will always burn bright. As long as we never give up and as long as we keep fighting. While I concede this election, I do not concede the fight that fueled this campaign.
It was a bitter defeat in what was often a rancorous battle with Trump. Harris took a dig at her rival by saying the transfer of power will be peaceful. No trying to overturn the results, no casting doubts on the system, and no civil unrest, even as around 200 Harris supporters protested the result outside a Trump hotel in Chicago.
Earlier today, I spoke with President-elect Trump and congratulated him on his victory. I also told him that we will help him and his team with their transition, and that we will engage in a peaceful transfer of power. A fundamental principle of American democracy is that when we lose an election, we accept the results.
Disappointed Harris supporters consoled each other, hoping her campaign can ignite a movement that carries a vision into the future.
It feels disheartening, and it feels very divisive. Literally, half of our country voted for one way of life, and the other half voted for another. It does feel, it feels like we've, in some ways, almost for a temporary defeat, but not long term. We believe that this is going to be a phoenix rising, that there's going to be a turn in this process, and that many people who were not engaged before now understand their actual vote does count.
Nasri Karim, TVB News.
Kamala Harris got it wrong, say some analysts and even Democrats. In the end, Trump's comments about Puerto Rico being a floating island of garbage, his criminal cases, accusations he is trying to divide the country, and even the January 6, 2020 riots did not matter to most voters. It was the economy and other issues that the Democrats failed to address. Nasvi Karim has the story.
Donald Trump's vision was clear. He wants to clean up America's borders of illegal immigration, and he wants to fix the economy.
Immigration was a big issue. And the problem the Democrats had is that for years they are in power and are perceived as not doing anything.
Even Democrats admit that Harris underestimated how important issues such as immigration and the economy would be to voters, focusing instead on Trump's so-called quest for unchecked power.
There were three key issues in this election: the economy, immigration, and to a lesser extent, abortion. We won on one of those three issues, but We lost in the other two. And I'll be honest with you, as a Democrat, I don't know what our message was on immigration or on the economy.
Harris failed in a bid to swing the Latino vote.
Democrats have a giant problem with Hispanics, particularly Latino men. I don't know how they're going to fix it. I can think of several obvious things. They're going to have to work hard on it. They also have a big problem with 18 to 29-year-old men, young men. Granted, they'll be older in the next election, but I don't think it's going to change a lot of their views.
A lot of my friends voted for Trump. A lot of people on my Facebook friends that are Latino men from my generation that voted Democrat this time voted for Trump.
I voted for Trump. As you can see, I'm a small business owner. To me, I believe he did really well with our economy during COVID with what he was stuck with.
And figures suggest that even Joe Biden did better than Harris with black women during his successful 2020 campaign.
I think that the Democratic Party really needs to have a full awakening. I think there's been an assumption with the Democratic Party that, okay, you're going to automatically get black voters, right? And we don't have to necessarily do anything, but we can automatically get black voters because we're not as racist as the Republican Party.
Nazri Karim, TVB News.
President Xi Jinping today extended congratulations to U.S. President-elect Donald Trump. She urged the two countries to find the right path to get along in the new era and enhance communication and dialogue. Vice President Han Zheng also sent a congratulatory message to U.S. Vice President-elect J.D. Vance. Danny Zhou reports.
祝贺他当选美国总统.
President Xi's congratulatory message was read out on state TV. The Chinese leader called for a stable, healthy and sustainable Sino-US relationship, which, he said, serves the interests of both countries and meets the expectations of the international community. He reiterated the principles of mutual respect, peaceful coexistence and win-win cooperation. She told Trump that Beijing and Washington need to manage their differences properly and expand mutually beneficial cooperation. The foreign ministry in Beijing struck a neutral tone towards Trump's election victory, saying they respect the choice of the American people. In today's press briefing, a spokesperson stressed there would be no winners in a trade war, which is also not beneficial to the world. Trump launched a high-stake trade war with China while he was in office in 2018. The two countries' tit-for-tat tariff escalation resulted in extra import taxes on over $450 billion worth of traded goods. In his presidential campaign this year, Trump also vowed to slap steep tariffs of 60% on Chinese goods. China Daily, a state-run newspaper, extended the hope that Trump's second term in the Oval Office could mark a new beginning in bilateral relations, if the chance that has been offered is not wasted. Danny Zhou, TVB News.
As Donald Trump is set to return to the White House, Hong Kong's business community has mixed views about the impact of his China policies.
As the world prepares for Trump 2.0 and his America First policy, what will his political comeback mean for Hong Kong businesses? Amid anticipation of potential protectionist measures, including tariffs, business sector lawmaker Jeffrey Lam believes after Trump takes office, his first order of business will be to boost the U.S. domestic economy. Though a tougher tariff policy is expected, Lam said there needs to be a balance from the business community. He said Trump knows there are lots of American investors in the Chinese mainland, Hong Kong, and across Asia. One of his biggest supporters, Elon Musk, has invested heavily in China, and rumors have been circulating that Musk would join the cabinet, Lam said. But Hong Kong's logistics industry is more concerned. Willie Lin, chairman of the Hong Kong Shippers Council, said during Trump's previous presidency, his policy dealt a great blow to Hong Kong's import and export trade, and Lin is worried that the situation will get worse when Trump returns to the White House. Lin said over the past 8 years, Hong Kong businessmen have become better prepared for rises in costs, with more than 80% of Hong Kong companies having set up branches outside China. He expects high-tech industries will continue to face restrictions from the United States, but the U.S. will also face a supply chain crunch over consumers' daily goods, and that could ease the strictness of regulations. Anthony Chow, a former member of the National Committee of the Chinese People's Political Consultative Conference, said Hong Kong will be impacted should a trade war erupt between the U.S. and China. He hopes the U.S. would end the antagonism against China.
Ukrainian troops have engaged with North Korean units for the first time in Russia, according to Ukraine's defense ministry. This as Russia's parliament voted in favor of ratifying a treaty of partnership between Russia and North Korea. NATO said this week that strengthening the alliance's capabilities of defense and deterrence remains a top priority for the region. The military alliance has also pledged to work with the new U.S. administration as it is in the best interest to do so. Tracy Furness has more.
South Korea's President Yoon Suk-yeol said today he was not ruling out supplying weapons to Ukraine. Yoon said Seoul may start with sending defensive weapons to Ukraine to support the country's war with Russia. He also said his government will continue assessing the situation and monitor the level of North Korean troops involved in the war. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky thanked everyone in the world who reacted to the deployment of North Korean soldiers in Russia. He added that the first battles Kyiv's troops have had with North Korean soldiers have opened a new page of instability in the world. Speaking in Italy Tuesday, the head of NATO, Mark Rutte, spoke about ramping up defense. We need to go further and faster for our own deterrence and to support Ukraine. Earlier this week, the Pentagon said there were at least 10,000 North Korean troops in the Kursk region, adding there were between 11,000 and 12,000 troops in Russia altogether. Yoon said he discussed with President-elect Trump over the phone the issue of North Korea's provocations like trash balloons, GPS jamming and the reckless launching of intercontinental ballistic missiles, intermediate-range ballistic missiles and short-range ballistic missiles, and how they should respond to this. Tracy Furness, TVB News.
Canada has ordered Chinese-owned TikTok's business in the country to be dissolved, citing national security risks. The government added it is not blocking access by Canadians to the short video app or their ability to create content. Innovation Minister François-Philippe Champagne said the government is taking action to address the specific national security risks related to ByteDance Limited's operations in Canada through the establishment of TikTok Technology Canada. Ottawa began reviewing TikTok's plan to invest and expand its business in Canada. ByteDance is TikTok's Chinese parent company. A TikTok spokesperson said in a statement, shutting down TikTok's Canadian offices and destroying hundreds of well-paying local jobs is not in anyone's best interest, and today's shutdown order will do just that. And still ahead, Germany's ruling coalition collapses after Chancellor Olaf Scholz fired his finance minister. And the Hong Kong International Wine and Spirits Fair opens. Welcome back. Germany's ruling coalition has collapsed after Chancellor Olaf Scholz sacked his finance minister Christian Lindner, paving the way for a snap election. Scholz announced the move at a news conference following weeks of disputes among coalition partners over ways to boost the country's ailing economy. The German chancellor said he would seek a vote of confidence in January that might lead to early elections that otherwise would be due next September. Lindner from the pro-business Free Democrats had rejected tax increases or changes to Germany's strict self-imposed limits on running up debt. Scholz's Social Democrats and the Environmental Greens, who are also part of the coalition, wanted to see massive state investment. They rejected the Free Democrats' proposals to cut welfare programs. The abuse of a substance known as space oil has emerged as a rising trend in the city. The government said the drug among those commonly abused by young people aged under 21 in the first half of this year. Lim Sang-ai reports.
This 17-year-old student has been vaping space oil for 2 years. He became addicted to the drug soon after trying it for the first time. The student said the drug is popular in his school, with 30% of people vaping it. He added the substance can be vaped everywhere and at any time because users can inhale it using electronic smoking products. Space oil is a liquid that is being used in e-cigarettes. It usually contains etomidate, a substance that can only be prescribed by a doctor and is regulated as Part 1 poison in accordance with the law. Police said nearly 100 people have been arrested in relation to space oil this year. 16 of them were aged 21 or under. On social media platforms, some sellers would highlight different flavors of space oil available to buy, including lemon, cola, and mango. They will also provide customers with tips on vaping space oil. For instance, to get the best experience, refrain from exhaling the smoke immediately after inhaling. An academic, who is also a psychiatric pharmacist, said people can become addicted to the drug faster than other narcotics such as cocaine.
You usually say that if a drug is having a very fast onset and a very short duration of action, it will be more addictive. Its onset of action is quite quick. It just needs 30 to 60 seconds to give you the effect, while the duration of action may be as short as just 2 minutes to 12 minutes.
The government plans to include etomidate as a dangerous drug in the first half of 2025. Lawmaker Connie Lam said authorities should regulate space oil as soon as possible.
The government should actively consider exercising special powers to speed up the filling of the gap in drug control, especially in preventing those people, especially the youngsters, from vaping space oil, from falling into the sea of drugs, and saving more youth as soon as possible. Maybe adults and adolescents, they are having space oil party. They may have some crimes like sexual assault and rape after that. That's some of the case I heard from the party.
She said the situation regarding the abuse of space oil is serious, that society should not ignore it. Memos 9, TVB News.
The observatory said they will issue the standby signal number 1 between noon and 3 p.m. on Friday. This came after tropical cyclone Yinxing was forecast to enter within 800 kilometers of Hong Kong at around midnight tonight. It was sunny during the day. The observatory said tropical cyclone Yinxing will skirt past the vicinity of the northern part of Luzon today, before entering within 800 kilometers of the city. While authorities said residents should expect a few showers over the coast of Guangdong this weekend because of the combined effect of Yinxing and the northeast monsoon. Organizers of the New World Harbor Race said the swimming event scheduled for Sunday will be cancelled if the standby signal number 1 or a more severe storm alert is enforced at 6 a.m. that morning. The event is expecting around 4,000 participants. The Hong Kong-China Swimming Association said the decision comes as the Hong Kong Observatory predicts Super Typhoon Yinxing is set to bring unstable weather to Hong Kong. As that could affect the harbor race on Sunday, the organizers said swimmers are reminded to pay close attention to the latest weather forecast. This year's harbor race sets off from the public pier at Golden Bohemia Square in Wan Chai and ends at the Avenue of Stars in Tsim Sha Tsui. The 16th Hong Kong International Wine and Spirits Fair opened today at the Hong Kong Convention and Exhibition Center. There is a marked surge in hard liquor vendors and distributors, which account for around a quarter of the total number of exhibitors at the 3-day trade show.
Organized by the Trade Development Council, this year's Hong Kong International Wine and Spirits Fair features more than 600 exhibitors from some 20 countries and regions. The city recently slashed the premium liquor taxes from 100% to 10% for the price portion above the $200 import cost. The duty cut also uncorked more effervescent trading in high-end spirits at the fair, which showcases not just emerging Chinese wines from provinces including Guizhou and Xinjiang, but also whiskey, gin and brandy from the Czech Republic, Ireland and Scotland.
Hong Kong is a great launch pad because of the liquor tax cut, and it will give us an opportunity to showcase our brand. And as everybody knows, Hong Kong is the gateway to Asia. We would be very optimistic with regards to the opportunities here because we think that our whiskey suits the Asian palate very well.
This is a very opportune time to have the high-end liquor tax reduction. More than 25% of these exhibitors carrying liquor and spirits. And we found newcomers, for example, from Ireland, from Czechia. Ultimately, we hope very much to bring Hong Kong, to build Hong Kong into a wine and liquor trade hub of the region and the world. Also the storage, the auction, and a lot of possibilities.
However, Donald Trump's victory in U.S. presidential election has led to worries over more trade spats. Some Hong Kong distributors of U.S. wine said they are taking a wait-and-see approach.
Actually, I think there is no material impact now because we're still waiting for the news policy coming out.
On November 9th, the final day of the fair, the Wine Fiesta Zone will be open to public visitors aged 18 or above. Public ticket holders can sample and buy wine and spirits, as well as participate in wine tasting sessions and special events.
Public tickets are priced at $200. With advance purchase, public entry fees are available at a discounted $99.
And that's the news. Thank you for watching.